Morning, Casey.
Hi, how are you? Good. I'm just reading Matt Hentoff's column for tomorrow in Saturday's paper. This week, where things are getting back to normal, the fires are finally contained, although not controlled, which is there's a difference between those two terms. Contained means they have a fire line around them and they don't expect them to go anywhere, but they're still sort of working on hot spots. Controlled will mean that they're confident that they're not going to burn anymore and they can walk away from them. So we're waiting for that controlled moment, but right now contained is great. So things are getting back to normal. There are still some fire stories that we're working on, one of which is the cleanup. The firefighters will have to go back, and not firefighters, but teams of people from the state, probably CCC will be involved, go back and clean up streams and areas that need cleaning up. The people down at the Empire Fairgrounds, that whole emergency impact team that came in, they're getting ready to pack up and leave. We've got the county fair coming, well, the Redwood Empire Fair coming up on August 7th, so they need to get out of the way for that. And so they're planning to get out of the way for that. But they do need to pay their bills. They need to make sure that every check is signed. I'm told by Teresa McNerlin from the county that, you know, every chit, every motel, every restaurant, all that has to be paid for before they pack up and leave. One interesting thing that we're looking into, I've had a couple of calls from people who believe that the local motels have been gouging the state, that they have jacked up the prices because they know that the firefighters are just signing for it and the bill's going to go to the state. So we're looking in to see if there's any truth to that. You know, usually if you get a couple of calls on something like that, there's usually a grain of salt there somewhere. Also, we're looking at, last week we had this past week we had a story about Ukiah Valley Fire District. They got permission to raise their fees to collect some more money. I think we're going to see coming up at the state level and at the local level, we're going to be seeing fire fees going up on property owners. And I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. I think fighting fires may be something that we all need to pay for. But I think we're going to start seeing fire companies and fire departments looking to have more money. They realize they need more resources. What else are we looking at? Well, let's go out and talk to Rob, because I know he was talking about water conservation, which, as we get through the summer, that's always going to be the story. Rob, remind me now what the city council did this week on water conservation.
Well, they have a voluntary program, and they haven't made it mandatory yet that people can serve, but they do have every other, like if your dress ends in an even number, you can only water your lawn this day and it ends in an odd number, you can only do it that way, but it's not like required. But I know if you don't and your lawn's looking a little too lush, they'll send you they'll send you a letter. So
well, I understood too from your story that they're actually kind of encouraging people to rat on each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's very true. I mean, that's the only way it works. It's not like there's a water enforcement officer that they can send around. So,
yeah. And
they're also worried about, they were a little hesitant to approve it because that is lost revenue for the city. If people aren't buying water, that's less money the city's going to receive for that. And also another concern was that they were going to, just fund further development south by if we were conserving. Downstream.
So then the water just flows south, and then they get to use it.
Who cares? They don't have any. It'd have to follow any kind of conservation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not sure I buy that. So the conservation. Tell us a little bit some of the things that you people can be doing.
Well, people, like I said, cannot, water their lawn some days, shorter showers. Also, it's like, just small things around the house that you can do that, also checking to make sure in your sprinkler system there's no leaks that are coming out, because they say a lot of leakage water gets ruined on that. Also, when they had like a water main break, like we had on, I think, Mill Street earlier this year, they lost a lot of water from that. So they're trying to look at ways that's really more for the city than actual people, but they were going to look at how they can more quickly ascertain where those are and get to them and stop the flow. And stuff,
right. One of the other things I know you've been working on, and we've been seeing it, even though our fires are contained, the smoke is still hovering, and it seems to get really bad around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah,
What's up with that?
Well, it's just from this. Well, from the press release and also people at the Air Quality Management District I've talked to. It's from the north, and the winds have changed, so it's blowing directly south. So this is from like the National Forest and like other counties that have fires that are still burning. And like you said, our fires are contained. That doesn't mean they're all out, though. So, I mean, they have a perimeter around them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're necessarily
So some of the
extinguished.
smoke would be local.
Yeah. And but a lot of it is, because the winds change, and it's blowing it south instead of from the ocean, which is obviously not on fire. So
Right. Okay, well, thanks. A couple of the other things that we're looking at, this week, of course, we had the stories about Measure G and whether that's going to make it onto the ballot. The people who wanted to put the exact copy of Measure G that was originally passed back on the ballot. County Council Janine Nadell said that's unconstitutional, which everybody pretty much knew. Nobody had ever challenged it. But now the people who want Measure G back on the ballot have taken what everybody agrees is the unconstitutional part, which is prohibiting having the supervisors tell the sheriff and the DA how to spend their money out of it. And so now the Measure G is a little bit more straightforward, just that the sheriff isn't allowed to prosecute marijuana crimes up to 25 plants. This is for personal use. This is not a medical marijuana thing. So that's before one of the judges over there in the courthouse, and he's taking it under consideration. We'll find out, I imagine, in the next couple of weeks about that. Also, we're going to be looking at the pear season pretty soon, coming up this week. We're looking at a program. Some local residents have gotten together to try to push music in the schools, even though a lot of the budgets are cutting music out. There's some local people who are trying to get music back into the schools, give some opportunities to kids for music. We're looking at a home meth test that the sheriff may be distributing to parents who want it, that want to test their own kids and see if they're on any bad drugs. And speaking of meth, of course, we had that huge meth arrest yesterday. One of the things we're going to be looking at is there is a program now at the county a lot of people have heard of drug court, but now they have a special drug court for parents whose children have been taken away because they've been arrested on some sort of drug charges. So we're going to be looking at that program and seeing how that works, and if it's successful in uniting children and parents, and of course getting the parents off the drugs. So those are the main things that we're looking up coming up this week, and mostly it's that transition from that crisis fire back to normal news. The general plan is back on the agenda for the county. The soups are they're meeting again. Their vacation is over. People are coming back. We have 2 city council posts coming up in the election, so that's going to start gearing up. So there's a lot going to be going on. Summer's usually a little bit slow, but people are coming back to town and things are going to start. Of course, school gets started pretty soon here too. So that's about it for this week, and thank you very much for coming and checking it out.